Hello everyone, I thought this would be a good time to go over the current global meta. Since with Nikita's release we now have full access to the top 2 meta comps that have been extremely dominant in CN for the longest time. And these are very F2P friendly to build. They are the full burn comp and the Hydro-Corrosion hybrid comp. Since we know electric dolls will be coming out next and they will bring a new meta, I think right now is the perfect time to look back in the past to see how the metas evolved since the beginning to where we are at now. And we'll also see how it will shape up in the future from the current CN metas as well. I have to obligatory mention this, to me, waifus over meta always. And since I started playing this game as an F2P, I had one endgame goal, to build 2 endgame teams that can tackle all types of content, and from then on it's mostly a waifu collector game. I think we have reached that point with the Burn and Hydro-Corrosion teams, which are the most strongest F2P friendly endgame teams you can have. So yeah, that's why I felt like making this video. We will go over both of those team comps, see how much investment is needed to build them correctly, and we will also look at the future potential changes as well as upcoming meta comps that you can plan for from right now. Let's start by going over the burn comp. This is a fully single element, or you can say mono burn team comp, and the core of this team is based around Chongju, who's a completely F2P doll that should probably be your first targeted pull from the standard banner. The standard banner in this game has 2 extremely powerful tier 0 DPS units, QJ and Tololo in there, and we'll quickly see that the 2 top meta comps are built around these 2 units, and that's what makes them more F2P friendly. As mentioned, the burn team is built around QJ, and you'd want to unlock her expansion key and reach V3 on her as fast as you can. Why? Because QJ, or in fact the whole burn team's core mechanic is support attacks, which is kinda like follow-up attacks from all of your allies. This team excels with a huge amount of support attacks from all of the members, and that's the majority source of damage for this team comp. So you want to buff all of their support attacks as much as possible. QJ, being the anchor of this team, needs her expansion key to deal burn damage with her support attacks. Without that, she would be doing physical damage, which is kinda pointless in a burn comp. And you need her V3 to constantly put a burn type debuff on the enemy called overburn, which is another very essential mechanic for the whole burn team, as it unlocks a lot of other allies' support attacks. As mentioned, QJ is completely free to obtain from the standard banner. Her signature weapon Golden Melody is also available in the standard banner or from the Dorito shop. You only need V3 QJ to reach her optimal potential. Of course, going over that will make her even better, but definitely not needed. And as for any SSR weapons, you never really look towards dupes unless you are a whale. A single SSR weapon copy is all you need. Since you can fully build an endgame QJ without a single premium currency spent and relatively easily, she is fully F2P and considered to be zero cost. Someone who can take full advantage of V3 QJ to boost themselves is Sarkari. She is the best SR DPS and even better than some SSRs. She is a hidden SSR for real. You should be looking towards building her as your first maxed SR doll. I don't think any other SR doll comes even close. Being SR, she is very easy to V6, so that should be your target. Although, not gonna lie, I have bad luck and I'm still at V5 with her. But she still slaps at any point and you will eventually V6 her anyway. You again need to unlock her expansion key so she does burn damage with her support attacks, otherwise she will be doing physical damage, which is a wasted potential. If you have a spare SSR Golden Melody to give her, then that would be ideal, but no worries if not. You can give her the best SR AR you have and it will be absolutely fine. Again, she is another zero cost unit, completely F2P in your team. Now we look towards our first limited unit, Vector. She is another core and essential unit for the burn team. In fact, if you are ever building a hybrid team with burn units, you want QJ and Vector in there. Vector enables burn weakness onto the enemies as well as increases the number of support attacks from the burn allies, which, as we mentioned before, is what you want. Well, she is much more than that with all of her other buffs and debuffs that enhances the whole burn team, and I am very partial to her as she is my favorite. So yeah, there's that. By the way, I'll link my playlist for all of the limited dolls guides and builds below so you can find out more about them from there. But Vector is not only the first limited unit you want her to be V1 as well as have her signature weapon. This is the first character you want to properly invest your premium currencies on and build well. You do not want any more investment though. V1 C1 Vector is at her optimal performance breakpoint. More dupes of course help, but I'm trying to provide the least required investments to be endgame ready. Both of her V1 and signature weapons significantly boost the whole burn team, and that's why they are so valuable. If it was only self buffs, it wouldn't have been so necessary. So that means you need to pull Vector twice and her signature weapon once, a total of 3 limited pulls, meaning she is a 3 cost investment. Your fourth unit is another limited, Center AC. She is the dedicated burn team premium support and you only need a V0 Center AC. So only one copy and that's enough. Her primary job is to keep everyone up and healthy through her healings and occasional buffs. So you don't really need her to do high damage, just do the sustain job good enough. And for that reason you also want to have her expansion key unlocked. Her V1 can be a lucrative option to go for if you want her to have more roles than just a heal bot and give more buffs to the team and be more of an offensive support, but you definitely don't need it to succeed. Again, as she is relatively lower in priority, you can give her any SRAR that's maxed out and that would be fine. But if you could spare another SSR Golden Melody, that would be the ideal choice. As you only need a V0 Center AC to fulfill the team, she is considered a one-cost unit in your roster. Now the final fifth unit you do not need to have at all. That's why the support system in GFL2 comes handy and useful. You only need to build 4 units yourself to field a 5 unit team in Gunsmoke. Because as an F2P you definitely want to utilize the support feature and borrow a fully maxed out whale unit in the 5th slot from your platoon or friends. And that slot for the burn team is Chihuahua, the hyper DPS. The concept of hyper DPS is that they are the best when they are heavily invested into. Usually means at least a V6 unit. As an F2P it is never your goal to invest that heavily into one unit and be completely broke afterwards. It's better left for the whales and you can just borrow from them. So a V6 Chihuahua is your 5th and final unit in the burn comp. She is exponentially powerful at V6 than any other dupe, so you really want to borrow V6 and nothing below. Of course depending on the availability, but that's the goal. You can work with whatever's available in the meantime. So that being said, since the final unit is not even yours to build, they cost you nothing and the total cost of your full burn team comp is equals to 4. And this is one of the cheapest and strongest team build in GFL2 right now. I do want to mention couple alternatives. Cinia is one of the very highly valued SR units and you should be building her in general, as she can pretty much work with any team as a buffer support, and especially in burn team before you have Center AC, she can be slot into that spot very effectively. So she is kinda the F2P alternative to Scent, which makes that slot 0 cost, but you will definitely eventually want to upgrade to Scent when the endgame damage becomes too much for Cinia to effectively sustain the whole team. Another alternative to Sarkiri is Peri. She is a tank sub DPS type unit and has a kinda similar damage output potential as Sarkiri at V0. But Peri being a limited unit will increase the team cost to +1 than Sarkiri, so why would you want that if there's no big advantage? That's why Sarkiri keeps the first team spot while Peri stays on the bench for now. That's everything about the burn team's build, and now we are moving on to the other best team comp, the Hydro-Corrosion hybrid team comp. These two meta teams, one is not better than the other. They both sit on the top tier as you need minimum 2 teams in Gunsmoke, and we have been having a lot of burn and hydro weak bosses lately, buffing their values even more. But regardless, let's get into the Hydro-Corrosion team discussion. As mentioned before, the idea of this team started around Tololo, the other tier 0 DPS from standard banner than QJ. Tololo is a hydro unit and when maxed out in this team can do comparable damage to every other hyper DPSs in the game. But you don't need to max her out right away. Her first breakpoint is at V2, so that should be your priority at start. V2 allows Tololo to do hydro damage with both of her skills and her ultimate. Honestly, she is not complicated at all. She is a straight up shooter, single target DPS, that's it. Her signature weapon is Planeta, which is one of the best SSR ARs in the game that you can get from the standard banner or from the Dorito shop. So definitely get a copy of that as well. You also want to unlock her expansion key as well, which will come in handy when we look at our next unit. But for now, that's about it for Tololo. She is a completely free unit to build over time and is a 0 cost for your team. The next unit is the premium limited hydro support, Springfield. I mean, she is the premium best support in the whole game period, but especially useful as an offensive support to the hydro units like Tololo. While V6 Springfield is an absolutely broken unit both support and DPS wise, you don't need to go that far now. You want to have her at V1 and it's necessary. V1 Springfield can make a V2 Tololo with expansion key, as we mentioned just before, a different beast altogether. With this setup, Tololo can use all of her skills and ultimate every turn of the game, skyrocketing her DPS. So V1 Springfield is basically your Tololo enabler, and you need that for this reason. You do not need any more Springfield dupes for now, as your target of activating all 3 Tololo attacks is already achieved. However, you do want to pull her signature weapon right after, as just like Vectors for burn team, Springfield's signature is a very useful buff for all hydro units in your team, and that means more Tololo damage. V1 C1 Springfield should be your optimal investment to have her endgame ready, and exactly like Vector, this time it also has 3 costs for your team. We really don't need any more Hydro units. Tololo plus Springfield is a very powerful Hydro core that you can use anywhere and build a hybrid team around them. And this time we will use 3 other Corrosion units alongside to complete the Hydro-Corrosion team. The first unit in the Corrosion trio is the limited unit Mist2. We don't have many limited Corrosion units to choose from. Mist2 is just a Corrosion damage buffer and enabler for other Corrosion DPSs, and a single copy or V0 is enough for that purpose. You don't need more than that. As you can already figure out, we will borrow Klukai in our 5th slot, who's gonna be the Corrosion hypercarry of this team, and we need Mist2 to make her even more powerful. And also, not a lot of bosses lately have Corrosion weakness, so Mist2 comes handy there with her Corrosion weakness implant as well. There's not much else to say. Give her any SR weapon you got and that's absolutely fine. Since she is a limited unit and you only need 1 copy, she is a 1 cost to your team. The 4th unit in this team comp is Peritia, the cat. She is another free unit available in the standard banner, but also can be obtained from the dispatch room gacha. Although who knows after how many pulls, so standard banner is your best bet. But yeah, by herself she may look underwhelming, but with Klukai she unleashes her full potential. You don't need any dupes on her. A V0 Peritia is good and she will do 6 support attacks every turn with Klukai. And with help from Mist2 before, all of her support attacks will do Corrosion damage, which is huge. That's basically it. You want her for all of her support attacks to boost the Corrosion damage onto enemies, and if you can get her an SSR machine gun, that's good, but again not a must. An SR weapon will also be fine on her. Since she is a F2P standard banner character and you don't even need dupes, she is another 0 cost character in your team. Lastly, the hypercarry of this team, Klukai. She is all you need, or in this case you don't even need. Cause for an endgame meta team as a hypercarry, like I said before, you want her most invested person. So you are highly recommended to borrow a V6 Klukai from the support feature to complete this team. Now, a V0 Klukai is still probably the best AoE unit you can have in your account, and for that reason she is a must-pull V0 for everyone. But you won't be using your own in this team. So for this team's purpose, she is a 0 cost unit to you. That makes the total cost for this team also equal to 4. Exactly the same as Burn team, making both of these the cheapest F2P achievable endgame meta teams in the game. I have to mention a few more things for this team. Nikita is considered the Hydro hypercarry, but why isn't she here then? Well, you can replace Tololo with Nikita, but she is a limited unit with a slightly higher investment requirement to be better than Tololo. Or you can have a V0 Nikita replace your V0 Mist2 and make a 3 Hydro 2 Corrosion team. These choices do depend on the boss and the stage you are fighting, their weaknesses and other buffs and debuffs available to you. The choice to replace Mist2 with Nikita becomes even better after we get the Peritia expansion key, which makes some of our support attacks do Corrosion damage without needing Mist2. So you have to remember that. But for now, for a full F2P, the first choice team remains the above. Okay, we finally completed covering the 2 most prevalent meta comps in global right now, and both of them costing 4 limited pulls, a total of 8 cost. Do remember that you will fail 50-50s, so it will take you more than 8 limited SSR pulls to complete it all, so plan accordingly. And now we'll try to cover some of the past meta units and future meta team comps a bit quicker and not going into so much details. Firstly, the game launched in global with giving players the access to freeze comps the fastest in the beginning. Many players have Macchiato, Suomi, Dasabnaya, etc. from the freeze comp, and even Lota, the SR1. But they don't seem that much powerful right now as a full team archetype. But Macchiato is still a really strong meta unit that you can utilize almost anywhere, and so is Suomi, especially at V1, both of them. Macchiato's expansion key made her even better recently. So if you have invested into them already, no worries, the freeze archetype will be back, as we will see when we look at the future from the CN metas. Similarly, Diane was a powerful physical unit in the beginning and is still used alongside Yuhi recently to complete a lot of hybrid team comps that can tackle endgame. But a full physical team still feels far-fetched for now. But again, we'll look at the future potential from the CN metas. For now, we know Jiangyu is coming and probably many of the electric dolls following soon after. They will bring a new meta into the landscape, and there's a very good potential to build a third endgame ready team even for F2Ps. Let's talk about it. Well, Jiangyu is being reworked from a DPS to a support, and we are probably getting the new version in global, which is yet to be tested for viability and dupes, F2P priorities, etc. But it's looking promising. So putting her as a potential spot for now, we need to know more though. You will be able to find her guide and review from my character review playlist when she drops. But previously she was pretty much not needed, and even without pulling her we could build a solid electric comp. Similarly as above, we will only build 4 units and borrow the hyper carry from support, and that hyper carry will be Leva for the electric comp. She seems to be another broken one at V6. To accompany her, we will need her sister Lena, and she should be optimal at V1. The next limited character we can target for the electric core is Andoris, who's I think the best tank unit of the game, and she is sufficient at V0. You can complete the team with 2 other F2P standard units, one being Xenia, the SR support doll I mentioned you should have built already, and other being either Nemesis as an SR choice or Mosin Nagant as the better SSR choice depending on the boss fights. Just like the 2 meta comps we discussed above, this team also requires you to pull 1 V1 limited character and 1 V0 limited character. Meaning again a total of 3 or 4 costs should give you access to your 3rd meta team comp in the game. I will probably try to go for this team definitely, as I've been waiting for the sister, and this only sounds like a good news to me. Now if we look at the current CN units and meta in general, we can see that in future we will have the potential to build other exclusively single elemental team comps which are as meta as the others or even better. First one being the Freeze comp. We already got Macchiato, Suomi and Dasabnaya. Ideally you have a V1 C1 Macchiato and a V1 Suomi and a V0 Das, and then you add a V0 C1 Alva and borrow a V6 Robella to complete the team, and you have the best ice comp in the game. In fact, I have seen only Alva and Robella duoing the Gunsmoke by themselves if you are up to whaling for them. Similarly with Lind's release, Corrosion now has their own full team. I guess almost full. I can still see Xenia there. You can just opt to pull a V0 Lind to make this team. Or if you have already whaled for Klukai, you can borrow a V6 Max Lind, and they can also just duo the Gunsmoke boss in their favorable condition. With Florence release, we will have the option to field a full Hydro team as well, although adding Klukai instead of Chahui still remains the better choice in there. And lastly, the most recent CN unit Voimastina completely changed the scene for the physical comp, and it's probably the most powerful right now. A full team consists of Diane, Yuhi, Faye, who we already have, and then Lenny plus Voimastina. You definitely want to borrow a fully maxed Voimastina here for sure, and then you probably don't even need a full team. Faye plus Yuhi alongside should be enough. So there you go. I think I covered almost all current and potential future comps that you can build right now or prepare and plan to build in future. Again, remember not to chase metas blindly. Units will be power crept and new metas will arrive. Don't let that dictate your enjoyment of the game, and that's why waifus over meta always. Lastly, I also wanted to mention that if you have been watching me, you know I had a site to track Gunsmoke usage rates for global and CN to see the meta teams, which isn't being actively maintained right now for my lack of time as well as resources. I also don't think it provides any huge value at the moment, as we have reached a very stable endgame point in global. I plan to restructure and redesign the whole website when I can, and probably include the visuals from my review videos as character guides and stuff, and make sections for maintaining just the meta teams in CN, so we always have something to look forward to. No promises when though. With that being said, thank you all if you are still here watching. Do like and subscribe if this video was helpful to you, or you can always send a super thanks or join my membership to show your appreciation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again later. Goodbye.